Amongst all the action on the court and on the ice, we thought we'd lead with NBN and NHL, but not to be undeterred, the PGA Championship has taken the lead today, and not for the action that's happening on the course. As you all know by now, Scottie Scheffler was arrested and detained by Louisville police this morning, and we're going to have Charlie Hume on in a second to discuss this with us. But obviously a massive breaking story, as you see there from Jeff Darlington. World #1 golfer Scottie Scheffler detained by police in handcuffs after a misunderstanding with traffic flow that led to his attempt to drive past a police officer into Valhalla Golf Club. Obviously, details continue to come out. You see the mugshot there from Scottie Scheffler, known to be one of the nicer guys on tour. There was a fatal car accident as someone crossing the road was struck by a bus and killed, sadly, very early this morning, which led to much of the police activity. It appears that Scottie Scheffler tried to go around that police activity, and when a police officer attempted to stop him, Scottie continued to move his vehicle forward. The police officer jumped upon the hood of the car, and it led to what we are now finding out more about. Let's bring Charlie in to talk a little bit further on this. You can find Charlie on SportsGrid every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning on the Smiley Show with Smiley Kaufman. So, of all the stories that we could have expected to break regarding just the PGA Championship this morning, this is not what I expected, Charlie.
It's truly surreal. I mean, I woke up to close to 200 texts on this and just trying to parse through the timeline. I think the place to start is the same place that Scottie Scheffler did when he released a very classy statement in the aftermath of all this. And it's expressing just deep sympathies and condolences to the family of the man who passed away. He was working for a vendor at the tournament. And so that kind of sets off this whole timeline. And bear with me here as we go through this, because there's so many moving pieces. So that fatal accident occurs at 5:09 a.m. At 5:39 a.m., and there is a text that is sent to every player in the field, and I'll read it to you here. It says, due to a serious accident, the only access to Gate 1 for players and caddies is from the west going eastbound on Shelbyville Road. Please plan to use this route to arrive at Valhalla Golf Club and allow extra time due to congested traffic. All public shuttles to the course are delayed until the serious accident has been cleared. So it is likely that at that point, Scottie was already en route to the course. At 6:01, Scottie Scheffler arrives and attempts to enter either with the instructions he's received via text or under the previous set guidelines for players arriving. He attempts to drive in. An officer jumps on his car. He is pulled out of the car. He's detained. There's a video here you're seeing from Jeff Darlington with ESPN, who Scottie in a moment reaches out to and says, hey, can you please help me here? He's pulled out of his car. He's handcuffed. He's taken into custody. He is charged with second-degree assault on a police officer, third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, and disregarding a police officer directing traffic. So he's booked at 7:28 a.m. At 8:40 a.m., Scottie's released from detention and escorted to Valhalla by the owner of the club, Jimmy Kirchdorfer. He arrives at 9:12 a.m. His all tee times this morning were pushed back an hour and 20 minutes because of this fatal accident. And so his tee time is moved to 10:08 a.m. He gets about a 30-minute warm-up on the range, goes to the first tee, and makes birdie on his first hole. And now we're kind of off and running. But that's the timeline of events, and just a stunning, shocking thing to be talking about when we're here at the second major of the year involving the #1 player in the world.
And now Scottie is now at today birdied again, I believe. So he's -1 on the day, -5 on the tournament. He's tied for 7th as we move a little bit deeper into Friday. It's worth noting that he is not the only golfer's tee time that was bumped back. All of the action was bumped back, as Charlie said, about an hour and 20 minutes. He was supposed to tee off at 8:45 and then teed off at 10:08. So he was getting to the course at least 2.5 hours before his tee time, and it ended up resulting in him getting to the course less than an hour ahead of his tee time. So it obviously jams up what he is trying to do for the day, and I'm sure he's emotionally compartmentalizing as best he can. Let's read his statement, because I think it is worth noting that he understands the severity of the situation. There's a lot of confusion here, but He says, this morning I was proceeding as directed by police officers. It was a very chaotic situation, understandably so, considering the tragic accident that had occurred earlier, and there was a big misunderstanding of what I thought I was being asked to do. He goes on to say, it truly puts everything in perspective, the loss of life that occurred. So, of all the things, like I opened up with, Charlie, of all the things that we expected to happen today on the course, this was probably the last of it. And the fact that it did go a couple of steps further, and he was booked and charged with several, at this point, I would say misdemeanors, but we'll see what they rise to the level of. It's a very unexpected situation and unprecedented as far as I can tell.
100%. And, it's hard to know the specifics, of course. We live in a day and age where you get cell phone video of certain things happening. You try to make your best judgment as to what the situation was based on that. We have the police report now. We have those charges now, of course. But I really hate this for a lot of parties involved. I hate this for the city of Louisville. I hate this for the PGA of America. I hate this for Valhalla Golf Club. Obviously the tragedy occurred, of course, but just, the amount of steps that it takes to get to this point. And you just have to wonder about the level of preparation on the ground to understand that, hey, this is a fluid situation and players are trying to kind of react as best they can and still prepare to play in a major. And so you get, you have the number one player in the world. You pull him out of his car, you handcuff him, you take him to the station, you put him in a jumpsuit, you take a mug shot, you hit him with these felony charges that's being reported. It's hard for me to understand how it gets to this point, knowing the discussion that's going to happen, on this TV channel, on social media, elsewhere. I mean, all these things are clearly going to, be a stain on the event in a lot of ways. And so I really feel for the parties involved who this was out of their control in a lot of ways, yet it's going to mar this tournament and the, whether or not this tournament comes back in the future, you have to kind of ask some questions as to what that looks like given the way this was handled.
Right, and the arresting officer, Brian Gillis, says Scheffler disobeyed his orders, dragged him to the ground. So there was at least a moment where it was very serious. And I would think this will get cleared up, but it remains to be seen because we don't know what happened in those, what is likely to be 10 or 20 seconds worth of time, Charlie, that created this entire incident.
I'm told his defense attorney, Steve Romines, is one of the best in Louisville and maybe the state of Kentucky. And we heard some comments from him earlier, with regard to the case. So I assume it'll get resolved. And then if you kind of turn this to on-course performance, Scottie was likely, I spoke to a trainer of several tour pros this morning. Scottie was likely arriving early to get a lift in, and obviously was not able to do that. Whether or not he was able to do kind of his standard mobility work that usually lasts from 15 to 30 minutes for most tour pros to loosen up, that is unclear. Obviously went to a range for about a half-hour warm-up and then went to the first tee. He's 1 under, so it doesn't seem to be hugely materially impacting his play thus far. But it'll be interesting to see. His odds immediately jumped up to 8-1 when this was announced, and then moved back down to 5-1 once it was sort of like he's making it the course he's going to play. But just a strange, bizarre situation at Valhalla Golf Club, side of the PGA Championship this year.
All right, I got about 30 seconds for you. What can we expect from you on SportsGrid regarding your coverage of PGA?
Smiley and I will do daily journal recaps every day here in Valhalla. We're going to do one right now, emergency reacting to the Scottie situation. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We are The Smiley Show in all of those locations.
Great stuff there from Charlie Hume. You listen to him on SportsGrid. You find him here on this show and various shows, as well as The Smiley Show on the grid. When we come back, we'll turn it on to the court on the NBA, where the Nuggets dropped a big one to the Timberwolves last night, and that series continues to go further. We're back on the grid on Newswire after this.